Separating us from our homes in nature is violence. We're dealing with a Supreme Court case which is just ad hoc made a decision. All tribals who are off the forest should leave the forest. When I was part of drafting a Forest Rights Act in this country that said the tribals are the first inhabitants and they are the protectors of the forest and their rights were not recognized, and now it's time to correct this historic injustice. Instead, you perpetuate a new historic injustice, say, we wipe them out. But the flipping and division in a very artificial way of men and women, and the creation of patriarchy with women as the subjugated second sex, didn't just ill-define the woman, which is why the too much comes in, but it robbed men of their humanity. To be human now was to be feminine. You know, Bacon, who's called the father of modern science, wrote a book, The Birth of Masculine Time, to create a science of domination, the science of raping nature. He called it the birth of masculine time, as if ecological knowledge, the knowledge of yoga, was effeminate knowledge. That's why Gandhi said a daily prayer, make me more feminine. Make me more feminine in terms of cultivating the care and the sharing, the giving and the loving, that is the potential in each of us. And I think when Sadhvi is talking about enlargement, she's basically talking about the enlargement of potential, not obesity. Enlargement as potential is there in the tiniest seed. My work is saving seeds. That little seed is the potential for life forever. Every tree, every crop is held in the sea. We've given up our capacity to think of potential. My PhD was on non-separability in quantum theory. Two amazing teachings 100 years ago we had from science. That the world is not separable, the quantum world is not, the mechanical world is. And the second, that there are no things in the world, there's only potential. Everything's potential waiting to get expressed as things, as individuals, as women, as men, as trees and as rivers. So the expression of the oneness is diversity. The diversity is not a reason for separation. And as we live through a time, no matter which part of the world you're from, no matter which country you come from, we are living in a triple separation. An acceleration of separation from nature, an acceleration of separation of humans from each other in terms of all kinds of division, the gender division, the racial divisions, the religious divisions, and now increasingly the division of economic inequality between the 1% and the 99%. But we are going through the final separation of us as beings. So, Gurmukh ji talked about not being men, not being women as teachers, is because then we live our full consciousness in the divinity, in the divine Shakti. And divine Shakti is not just for women. Divine Shakti is in every tree, every river, every human being, every child, born and unborn. That's the power. So we've got onto this crazy habit of the mind that is incapable of seeing creative power at work in silence. We've got used to seeing violent power at work. And we take that to be the only form of power, which is why the unstoppable militarization, also of the mind. But the second thing we've got used to is that the tools of violence, of conquest, We give them an inevitability and naturalness. And they're talking so easily now of three things. That we will be overtaken by artificial intelligence, and 99% humanity will be useless. And some people recommend that everyone be given smartphones to stay busy with the addiction of games, to not create trouble. And there are others who think, yeah, let's just get rid of them. We don't need so many. And extermination has been a logic of violence. I mean, the First Nations, 90% exterminated at the time of colonialism. 90%. And there's an extermination continuing. We are in the 6th mass extinction right now. We've created instruments to kill people in the concentration camps, and now we use them for insecticides and pesticides. So are we surprised that 80% of the insects are gone? Are we surprised that 93% of the crop varieties are gone? Are we surprised that we are being told we have a window of 10 years for a transition to a world? We are also being told that hate is inevitable. That there is an essentialism of humanity as hate, that there was regulation which prevented the hate, and now that there's re-regulation, everyone's bursting out in hate. But hate is cultivated and it's engineered. And we have to cultivate compassion, and we have to cultivate oneness. And in times like the ones we live in, it's our inner Shakti which is the strongest power. In fact, it's the only power that'll work. Because every time there's a nuclear power, there's another bigger nuclear power. Every time there are missiles, there are bigger missiles. Fighter jets, bigger fighter jets. Unwillable game. But the inner power that we unleash, and all it's waiting for is potential. We don't create it, it's there. We remove the obstructions. We remove the obstructions. And when there was this conversation about, and they think it's too much when energy gets relieved, I think it comes from a very deep fear that has been part of the construction of these silos and prisons and boxes into which we've been put as men and women, humans and nature. I've just done an essay on wildness. I'm saying wildness is what we are. As long as we are alive, we are wild. And the wild knows the limits. A tiger eats an antelope, but doesn't keep killing every antelope. Does it? No. It knows when enough is enough. But when we've lost our sense of relationship, we also lose our sense of limits. And we lose our capacity of enoughness. So in fact, relationship is where we start to protect the planet. Relationship is the place where we start to reclaim our humanity. And this deep fear that comes from being boxed, which creates the violence. And in factory farms, there's a phenomena they call cannibalism. When you put animals too close in a prison, they start becoming violent. So a chicken roams, and she's fine. You put her in a cage, she starts using her beak to attack others, and they de-beak the chicken at birth for factory farms. Piglets go around with their snout and their little pigtails. They bite each other's tails, so they've got to be detailed. We celebrate the horns of our cattle as the connection to the cosmic. In a factory farm, they have to be dehorned. So you create that violence, then you create even more violence to limit the violence that violence has unleashed. And I see terrorism in that context. I see terrorism in that context. That if we don't stop the roots of violence, we will never be able to contain the vicious cycles of violence. But at the end of it, I see all of it as coming from this deep fear of anything that is free and alive. We are afraid of grass that grows without our permission, so you got to round it up, glyphosate it. We are afraid of a river that flows. You got to rape her and put a dam. We're afraid of the insects. They go around, call them bugs, and shoot them dead. Women who express their energy, femicide. People who articulate their freedom, genocide. I think this rule of violence is not intrinsic to a male culture, it's intrinsic to a militarized patriarchy. And that's what we need to stop, so that men and women, the insects and the rivers and the forests, all unite in the unleashing of a Shakti that is in all of us and connects all of us.
She deserves that standing ovation because her work has required her to be very, very brave. Very brave, indeed. So you mentioned the potentiality, it's a wholeness, it's a oneness. It expresses as diversity. At your farm, Navdanya, which is here in the Doon Valley, you show the world that diversity is resilience. You come back to the women in the community, and their power, I feel, is in their togetherness. They went together to the forest. At Chipko, they went together and hugged those trees. I worry a little bit, I'm concerned a little bit that in the world we live in today, that is accelerated, that is volatile, that is so much more technology, that we're losing some of that sense of community. And I feel that's a certain Shakti that we might pay attention to. How do we reunite? How do we unite? Not just with the forests and the rivers, which we do need to do, with our indigenous people, our First Nations. How do we reunite in this diversified field in a way that lets the Shakti be birthed for all?
You know, we've been made to believe that there are two gods in our times. One is technology and one is money. Both are supposed to be tools, and they're supposed to be means that we govern through the concept of dharma. Is this the right tool or not? Is this the right use of money or not? Instead, we've made any use of any money and any use of any tool justified in its own existence. In 2008, when the money machine started to crumble a bit with the Wall Street collapse, in Europe, all of Southern Europe, 50% youth went unemployed. 50% youth. I go a lot to France and Greece and particularly Italy, where Navdanya has programs. And I remember the government of Rome said, Dr. Shiva, we want to do the ecological work, but we've got all these unemployed youth on what do we do, how do we connect the two? And I said, start gardens. And they did. Young men who had lost their jobs in a software firm that migrated to China, they started to garden. And three things happened as a result of it. First, the software people who had been made to believe that the software job was an expert's job and gardening was inferior, by doing the gardening, they realized they had so much more nourishment of their spirit by growing food than sitting and writing software for someone else. The second thing that happened was the mafia was kept at bay because these green spaces, you know, the real estate mafia looks at maps and sees greens and said, concrete. We could have concrete there. We could build something. Take it away. And just the gardens created a whole different use. So the government had a new defense. And the third most important point was, this, as a software employee, you went to work for a firm. In a garden, there had to be a community. Men and women equal, young and old equal. The ones with more physical ability equal to those with less ability, acting cooperatively. The isolation and tearing apart very inevitably creates competition and conflict. That's why we think living as community is not difficult, is difficult. You remove all the separations, being community is what we are. We aren't just community as people, we are community as the earth. That's what my life's dedication is, to reclaim in our minds and our hearts being members of the earth community. And for those of you who are interested in visiting the Navdanya farm, we'll be doing a course on ecofeminism. I'll be there teaching on 10th and 11th. You can either go to the website of navdanya.org, the pages of Earth University, and explore. Or you can write directly to me, vandana.shiva@gmail.com, and I'll pass it on to my colleagues who take care of this. But when you ask, how do you build community? You build community not as an engineering enterprise. You build community as the giving and the living life. And community builds. The beautiful thing that we've learned, we began saving seeds. You know, we've got 6 times more pollinators on the farm than when we started. We got more birds. Our soil organisms are rich. Our carbon, nitrogen, zinc, magnesium is flourishing. We did not put it there. We created the conditions for it to grow. And community is creating the conditions through your giving. We can't do more than that. That's the power of the divine feminine. But we can do our bit. And our bit is the limitless potential we have in our consciousness and our love and our sharing, and the limited bodies we have, but with 3 systems we haven't used enough. First of all, we haven't used our full intelligence and brain. We only use the analytic. And every psychologist is telling us, you keep going down that left brain route, collapse is the only way. Collapse is inevitable, because the synthesizing guidance that comes from the whole. But it's not just the intelligence in the left and right brain alone. It's the intelligence in every cell of our body, in our gut. Life is intelligence. We're not using enough of it. And the only way to deal with artificial intelligence is cultivate living intelligence in cooperation with all other life. The second thing we aren't using enough is our hearts. And we are not using our hands enough, which is what I told you. These, you know, what women have specialized in is the use of hands, both in the gardening and the growing of the food and the cooking of the meals and the caressing of the baby. And we were told the hands are a useless limb. At best, you need 1 finger, or the 2 for texting. No, the full hand. Full hand beyond the smartphone. With the earth, with other humans, with everyone who surrounds us. That's community. That's cultivating community.
Thank you. I have so many more questions for each one of you. I feel like we could have an hour and a half with each of you. You're so clear and brave and powerful. But I wanted to I want to divert a little bit here, because last night I was talking to Tommy Rosen. We had talked about how some men were asking, can I come to this panel? And we wanted to be sure that men knew that we were welcoming them as well. Tommy's response was, well, then you should have Saul, David Ray, join you. So I thought Saul nodded that he was okay with me just asking one simple question. And that's simply, what is Shakti to you? What is it in a yogic life? Why does it matter? 3 parts to a single question. And I think we have a mic for him somewhere.
Yes.
so that we can hear from a man as to why it matters, so that we can really unite, feel that union.
Can you repeat the questions? First one I got.
Can you stand so people
Sure.
can, thank you.
Stay.
Is there anything in your heart to share with us now?
Yes. Yeah, so just to be here in this conversation is what we all need to hear. It's the life wisdom, the mother wisdom that is in every place on the earth, every indigenous culture, every place has that wisdom, and that's what we've gone away from, and why we have so much pain of separation. So the first part of the question, Shakti, is she's the primordial Shakti, Adi Shakti, is that first teacher, always the inner teacher. And I learned from my teachers that most important thing in yoga is that we learn to listen to our own breath, to our own experience. And this is being echoed here, so beautifully. This is what we've lost, really, is that ability to listen to each other, to the earth, to our own soul, to God. And so I think yoga really defines, Vandana Shiva just mentioned dharma. So dharma is really the root, it's with life. And our culture now is adharma because of the distortion. So we recognize Shakti as that force that is animating everything. And it's in the river, it's in the sky, it's in all of our hearts beating. And just to recognize that as the power of life itself. And that we all are that. And yoga celebrates that. Right? That yoga is really the celebration of life, of breath, of all of that. What was the second part to the question?
Why does it matter, or what would the impact on the world be if we could all, as yogis, grow that?
If we could grow that. The force of expansion, as was mentioned, that as we each learn how to re-listen, how to relink, relegare, religion, yoga, to that force, that inner wisdom, it expands out naturally to everything, to everyone. And I think that, this is such an important maybe point, because even as has been mentioned, we keep repeating our same psychology into everything we're doing. So even in yoga, we bring our old belief systems and how we're supposed to be. But just learning how to trust that force again, because we trusted it in our mother's womb, which is where we come through the gateway. We are conditioned not to trust it, to be separated violently often. So yoga is that relinking, but it naturally includes, I feel like I'm just repeating everything that I've heard here, right? And this is, again, to trust life. And for all of us, maybe it means that next step that we don't know how to take, or that challenge that is in our life, how to trust and to move from that trust, not default to our own pattern, yeah? And, one thing I just wanted to add is that, many years ago I had a girlfriend who was a very feminist girlfriend, and she made me read a beautiful book called Shakti Woman. And I think I was about maybe 19 or 20, and it really made an impact on me, because in the book she talked about how beyond 5,000 years ago, our whole earth was matrilineal and matriarchal. That we were all in that feminine wisdom. And somehow, incredibly, there was this shift. It was almost like everyone synced up their iPhones. And we went into this more patriarchal part of our journey, because isn't it our collective journey that we're all on? But I'm feeling that the only way that we can make this shift, as was spoken here today, is by all of us finding that within us again and living from that place. Otherwise, that's the only way. Yeah?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And maybe we can keep that conversation going about what it means for men and how we can work together to grow the Shakti and the power of life in our world. That book, there's a truth, that's beautiful research that shows that for 5,000 years there was worship of the Divine Mother from India to Western Ireland, from everywhere that humans lived. And people lived in egalitarian democratic brotherhoods, everybody respecting one another, and there was peace for 5,000 years. So it's actually quite a beautiful bit of research. I understand that Cheryl speaks perfect English. Cheryl, can we ask you to weigh in on this idea of the divine feminine and why it matters?
It's an honor to be with the distinguished guests here today, and it's an honor to sit with the entire group here. One of the things that's very important today that we need to recognize is the spirit that lives within all of us. So I make it very my intent when I meet someone is to look directly at them, to let them know that I recognize them and that I see them. Because in my world where I live, people won't look at us because of the shameful history over 500 years. People won't reach out to me because they're afraid that I might attempt to hold them responsible or blame them. But I love everyone. I know that unity is the answer, and I know that forgiveness is a part of the journey to peace. And before that forgiveness can happen, the truth has to be told. And I'm happy because it's a choice I make every day. I choose happiness, and so can each and every one of you. I choose peace. Every one of you can make that choice. I have come from a place where the history is bloody, horrible. But I choose peace because I know that's the only way. But to get there, you have to learn the truth, and you have to go through the trauma, and you have to trust that it's going to be okay on the other side, and that it's okay to reach out. It's okay to make eye contact. It's okay to offer your services. It's okay to say, I'm sorry. I'm wounded. I've been traumatized, but I love myself so much, and I want to be in service so bad because I know that's the answer, that I will heal. I will choose forgiveness. I will choose the truth, and I will choose peace and happiness. Those are all choices that you can make individually. My people are not the only one who have suffered from colonization. I'm happy to hear that there was a 5,000-year span of peace where everybody recognized each other and everybody supported and loved each other for their diversity. About the end of that time of peace came the time of colonization. My country wasn't the first country to be colonized. It happened in Europe. And 6 million women were persecuted. And there was a great trauma to both the men whose job it was to protect the sacred, which is all life on this planet. Because men, you carry the seed of life within your bodies. We nurture that seed within our womb. So there can't be a separation between us. This wounding of the feminine spirit needs to be healed. The men who descend from that division need to be brought back into the circle. And forgiveness needs to start. And as protectors of the seeds, we need to offer that forgiveness to the men, and we need to let them know that the words of my sister, the militarized violence, that's not the answer. And the men need to step away from the violent acts that the system that we live in today is holding us all down and keeping us separate. So I encourage all the men here to recognize the power that they yield over with the responsibility of carrying the seed. Women, I want you to understand that you're sovereign, that your bodies are yours, just like the earth is sovereign, and all of her rivers and waters and mountains are also sovereign. Our bodies cannot be touched without our consent. The earth's mountains and rivers and landscapes cannot be touched in a destructive way without her consent. The rights to life need to be protected and enforced on every continent, every village, and every community, because the planet is alive. The rivers are alive. And that's what I want everyone to regard. We must protect the sacred. That includes everything we see, everything we touch, because it's alive. We're living in a living system. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to protect the sacred, because the sacred cannot speak for itself. Yes?
Thank you, Cheryl. I just wonder if all of us who are white or European could just stand and say, we're sorry for the wound, and sorry for the history, and sorry for what we've done to your people, and hope that we can have truth and reconciliation, and that we can look you in the eyes and let you look back in our eyes and let us know what we can do to heal. Thank you. We're holding it. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Would Martina like to speak?
Primeramente, yo vengo representando del Perú, de la nación quechua, nación Las Mamacunas.
First of all, I come the community from Peru, from the Quechuas.
Lo que dicen nuestras hermanas es realmente tanto el hombre y la mujer no hemos encontrado nuestro propio territorio. Hemos perdido. A consecuencias de eso es que hemos comenzado a maltratar lo que es la planeta Tierra.
What our sisters say is true, is real. This separation between men and women has brought consequence, and that we don't know which is really our homeland, our territory.
En nuestra tradición, para cuidar nuestro propio territorio, que es nuestro cuerpo físico,
In our tradition, to take care of our territory, which is our body,
primero tenemos que sentir la vibración de la madre tierra.
first we need to feel the vibration of the Mother Earth,
Conectarnos y sentirlo. Y a eso va lo que es la concentración de yoga.
to connect with her and to feel her. And that's what you are talking about with the yoga, this connection.
Si no sabemos concentrarnos, entonces nunca podremos sentir de nada.
If we don't know how to concentrate, then we'll never know how to feel.
Y eso es lo que hemos perdido,
And that's what we have lost.
porque no hemos sabido concentrarnos, ni escuchar, ni sentirlo.
Because we have forgotten how to concentrate, how to feel, and how to listen.
Escuchar en nuestra tradición es escuchar la voz de los árboles, el viento, en silencio.
Because in our tradition, it is very important to listen to the trees, to listen to the wind, to listen in silence.
Escuchar la voz de nuestra madre, de nuestros abuelos.
To listen to the voice of our mother, to listen to the voice of our elders.
Y así de esa manera comenzar a tejer la memoria.
And this way is to start to be knitting, to create this memory again.
Y las mujeres comenzamos a tejer primero los telares, procesamos el hilo de la alpaca, de la llama, de la oveja,
And that's why we women are knitting, and we start weaving and make the wool for the weaving.
y ese es el primer paso para nosotros de comenzar a caminar en la vida.
And this is the first step for us to start walking in life.
Si no sabemos tejer, si no sabemos hilar, entonces no estamos preparados para la vida.
If we don't know how to weave, if we don't know how to prepare the wool, we're not prepared for life.
Y el segundo paso es cuidar el fuego del amor, desde de nuestros fogones, desde de nuestra cocina.
And the second step or second part is how to take care of the sacred fire, the fire of our houses, the fire where we cook.
Entonces el fuego de la cocina está prendido todo el tiempo, nunca está apagado.
So the fire inside of our house, inside of our kitchen, is always lighting up.
Luego de esto damos el paso de seleccionar la semilla para cultivar en el campo.
After that, we select the seeds that we want to cultivate,
Y preparación de la tierra.
to prepare the earth.
Estos pasos, si lo tenemos bien conscientemente, sí lo vamos a sentirlo todo. Ahí sí vamos a poder conectarnos con el espíritu de la naturaleza, con el espíritu del agua, con el espíritu. Si no sabemos estos pasos en nuestra tradición, no podemos hacer nada.
So we need to know these steps to be very consciousness of them, of these actions. If we don't do them consciously, we can't be connected with the spirit. We can't find that connection. And that's why it's so important in our tradition first to learn to be consciousness of these steps.
Y nuestras montañas sagradas nos representan la energía masculina.
And in our tradition, the mountains represent the sacred masculine.
Y la madre tierra, la Pachamama, representa la madre, la máxima, la diosa.
And the Mother Earth represents the divine feminine, the supreme mother.
Y mediante nosotros nos conectamos mediante la hoja sagrada con la madre tierra.
And this is how we connect with her, through her plants and through the leaves.
Pero todo en este tiempo está mal uso de
Pero-
conexión, de concentración.
But everything in these days has been misused and has been disconnected.
Porque a las montañas sagradas las mujeres no subimos en nuestra tradición.
Because to the sacred mountains in our tradition, the women don't go up there.
Pero sin embargo, en este tiempo la mujer sube hasta la punta de la montaña sagrada.
But today, in the modern people, or women go even up to the top to the mountains.
Entonces, ¿qué se hace en esto? Es como subir encima de un hombre, caminas sobre alguien, de una persona.
This is like you are walking on top of someone.
Por eso está alterado la conexión.
And that's why we've been losing connection.
En los nevados, en las montañas nevados, en los glaciares, ahora la mujer sube, el hombre sube, entonces cada pisada lo calienta y los glaciares se derrumban.
So in the high snow peaks where the glaciers are, people, women, men go there and step on it, and that's why everything is getting destroyed.
Y uno no sabe todavía de qué energía lleva.
And we still don't know which energy this is bringing.
Si hablamos de la tierra, si nosotros somos tierra, a
So-
veces dejamos crecer muchas plantas que nos invada, plantas que no debe crecer en nuestro cuerpo.
See, if we are earth, if we are part of this nature, then there's plants or things that we don't know that are growing inside of us or with us.
Y eso es nuestro enojo, y eso es nuestra rabia.
That's our anger, that's our hate that is growing.
Entonces nuestra tierra está contaminada. Entonces si esa tierra lo llevas a una montaña sagrada que son nevados, que la llamamos nuestros dioses, entonces pues imagínate cuánto contaminación lo llevamos.
So then this is pollution. And if we're taking this pollution to these high sacred places, can you imagine how are we going to pollute this, which are our gods, our sacred places?
Por eso todavía tenemos que aprender a caminar mucho,
That's why we still need to learn how to walk.
porque aún todavía nos falta de verdad lograr el verdadero paso. Ya estamos grandes, pero aún todavía estamos en camino para aprender.
So we're already grown up, but we still need to learn how to take these steps.
Y nos hemos olvidado cuidar nuestro propio útero sagrado, que son las lagunas, que son los ríos.
And we also have forgotten to take of our womb, which are our lakes, which are the waters.
Hemos dado el mal uso, nuestro útero sagrado.
We have forgotten about our sacred womb,
No somos responsables,
and we're not responsible.
porque tanto hacer el aborto, tanto las relaciones forzadas, abusos, ese mismo también afecta a la madre tierra. No solamente es el plástico, la contaminación,
So it's not only the plastic that is the pollution contaminating, it's also the abortions, the relationships, the misuse of our wombs.
Y nuestros hombres, han comenzado a captar una energía más dura, entonces también nos ha maltratado a las mujeres. Y al maltratar a una mujer, no solamente es el maltrato hacia una persona, es el maltrato a la madre tierra.
So when we lose the connection and the men start misusing the women, this is not just misusing a woman, it's misusing Mother Earth.
Entonces en casa tenemos padre y madre
So at home we have mother and father,
y andamos peleados siempre.
and we're fighting always.
Siempre le hemos juzgado a nuestro padre, no lo aceptamos así como es. A nuestra madre no lo aceptamos así como es.
We're always judging and we're not accepting our father as he is or our mother as she is.
Pero mientras que decimos, sí, ya estamos bien encaminados,
But still we say, yes, we're on good way.
no estamos equivocados porque estás aún todavía peleado con tu propia madre, quien te trajo a la vida.
But we're wrong because we're still in fight with our proper mother and father.
Entonces mi abuela decía, si tú quieres ser maestra de tu maestro,
So my grandmother said, if you want to be a teacher of your teacher,
no está afuera, está dentro de ti,
it's not outside, it's inside of you.
está dentro de nuestra casa,
It's inside of our house.
está dentro de nuestro templo,
It's inside of our own temple.
que es cada cual somos.
It's who each one of us is.
Entonces comencemos a trabajar desde este punto.
So let's start work from that point.
Y eso es lo que hacían en el tiempo de los incas. Las mamacunas estaban tejiendo la memoria, tejiendo, trabajando, conectando.
And that's what the women, our ancestral women did. They were working, weaving all the time the memory.
Entonces tenemos que volver para cuidar nuestra naturaleza, nuestros ríos, nuestras aguas, nuestras lagunas.
So we have to protect again our mountains, our lakes, our seas, our waters.
Y quien lo va a hacer eso,
And who will do that?
nos toca la tarea es a la mujer.
That's the chore, the task of us women.
El hombre nos va a proteger desde afuera y nosotros vamos a despertar del corazón de la madre tierra.
Men will protect us from the outside, so we inside can be protecting her, the Mother Earth.
Estoy muy feliz
I'm
al
very
compartir con las hermanas mayores aquí.
To share with my sisters here.
Para mí tantos mensajes que me dejó mi abuela
Many messages that my grandmother has left me,
con la profecía de que sí, el águila y el cóndor se encontrarán, las dos serpientes, y volverán a tejer la memoria.
with the prophecy that the condor and the eagle will unite again.
Y estaremos aquí.
What an incredible gift for the heart, for the mind, for the being, for the collective being, to be together here today. As Vandanaji was speaking of the importance of community, as she was speaking so beautifully, as she was talking community, I kept hearing community, community, community. And that message then that has been echoed so beautifully of come, unity. Come, unity. Unity within the self. Our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our wombs, our mountains, our rivers, our valleys, our feelings, our Shakti, our power. Come, unity. The women, the men, the indigenous, the European, the Indian, the older, the younger, all of us, come, unity. Us, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, the mountains and the rivers outside of us, united to the ones within us. The seeds of the men whom we love and with whom we live. The seeds of the flowers, the plants, the vegetables, the trees. The protection of that seed. The protection of the womb that nurtures the seed. The protection of Mother Earth, in whom the seeds grow into the trees that give birth to the rivers. Come, unity. Come, yoga. Unity, union is yoga. So here we are in the festival of union, the festival of unity, being reminded, re-reminded, reawakened to come and unite within ourselves, within each other, within our planet. We have with us an extraordinary power of Shakti, our Abuela, who even not being well in the physical body today, being fatigued in the physical body today, has come to give us her strength, her power, to remind us of our strength and our power, to breathe power into us and through us so that we can breathe power into and through the world. And so with the love and the reverence in my heart, I will ask our grandmother, Abuela, to breathe that power into this world.
Meteo, con todo gusto por esta unión de hombres y mujeres aquí unidos como activistas.
With all the pleasure being united here with you, men and women, in being activisms.
Seres conscientes, seres fuertes, seres capaces.
We need to be strong and need to be capable.
Estamos todos unidos en este momento por este trabajo tan importante.
We're all united here together for this work that is so important.
De ver correr un río, de ver la limpieza en nuestros corazones, de ver el propósito de nuestra esencia.
The purpose of our essence to be united here in the heart.
El propósito es vivir.
The purpose is to live.
Pero vivir sanamente, correctamente.
To live correctly, to live in harmony.
Crear nuestras propias éticas.
To create our proper etnias.
Éticas.
Éticas.
Ser
Ethics.
responsables.
To be responsibles.
De la medio ambiente en el que vivimos.
to the environment that we live in,
Ser responsables
to be responsible
de la comunidad, de la sociedad en la que vivimos.
of the community and the society we are living in,
Dar ejemplo
to be examples
de lo que debemos ser y pensar y actuar.
of what we must be and how to act and how to think,
Y movernos siempre mediante la emoción del espíritu.
and to always move with the spirit, the enthusiasm of the spirit.
Si todas las ciencias de las que nos han hablado nuestras maestras,
From all the science that our teachers have talked us about,
las actuamos conscientemente,
if we act them consciously,
las seguimos poniendo en práctica todos los días desde el momento en que abrimos los ojos por la mañana.
if we follow them consciously, doing all those practices from the moment that we wake up and open our eyes,
Levantarnos como guerreras a limpiar a la madre tierra.
to wake up as warriors to clean Mother Earth,
Que los guerreros sean conscientes de este propósito igualmente.
that the warriors will also be consciousness of this purpose.
Somos dualidad en todo momento.
We are duality in every moment,
El Padre y Madre Tierra,
the Father and Mother Earth,
el Padre y Madre Universo.
the Father and Mother Universe.
Somos una dualidad constante
We are a constant duality,
y nunca debemos estar divididos,
and we should never be separated,
tanto para procrear, para sentir el amor,
to feel the love and to procreate,
tanto para trabajar,
to work together,
para sembrar,
to seed,
para alimentarnos,
to feed us,
para compartir
to share
los rezos,
Our
las
prayers,
danzas, los
the dances,
movimientos
the
sagrados, los
sacred.
cantos sagrados.
This-
¿Me permitirán hacer un canto?
Please.
Ya suena el tambor, llegan las danzantes, sembrando las plantas por todas partes. Ya suena el tambor, llegan las danzantes, sembrando las plantas por todas partes. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer fuerte, fuerte y abundante, una niña abuela, la mujer danzante. Una mujer fuerte, fuerte y abundante, una niña abuela, la mujer danzante. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer. Cruzando montañas, ríos y lagunas, todo es alegría bajo la luna. Cruzando montañas, ríos y lagunas, todo es alegría bajo la luna. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra que es una mujer fértil, mujer abundante, niña, madre, abuela, la mujer danzante. Una mujer fuerte, niña, madre, abuela, la mujer danzante. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Cruzando montañas, ríos y lagunas, todo es alegría bajo la luna. Cruzando montañas, ríos y lagunas, todo es alegría bajo la luna. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Resuena el tambor, llegan las danzantes, sembrando las plantas por todas partes. Resuena el tambor, llegan las danzantes, sembrando las plantas por todas partes. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Y la curandera recuerda el poder de la madre tierra, que es una mujer. Oh.
And with that, we would like to give the tree of yoga in this beautiful session, starting off with, I think we should give it to Abuela. Yeah, let's start with Abuela. So, everyone together, all of our Shaktis together, coming forward to give the sacred Rudraksha to our beautiful, beloved Abuela. And a beautiful sapling.